Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Delhi Township Board of Trustees meeting for Wednesday, June the 8th, 2022. To open the meeting, we will begin with a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight's moment of silence, well, we're a little late, but never forgotten. We'd really like to have a moment of silence to recognize all of our military service men and women, both serving now and retired, and just again to say how grateful we are for our own Delhi Township veterans. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, Mr. Luby, let's begin with the approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees special meeting on May 26, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Yes. Motion approved.
Motion to approve the payment of overtime for pay period ending May 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Approval of bills, Mr. Luby.
Motion to approve bills for payment.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Report from fiscal officer. Resolution, please.
We have Resolution 2022-070, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to spend greater than $10,000 on behalf of the Township, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
I can tell you there's three things on this spending authority resolution. Tax payments where we have some property taxes that we owe on certain properties, health department, and also for the pickleball court blacktopping once we get a price we like. Queen City right now is the lowest one, but so those are the three spending
Okay.
requests.
Move
Thank
to
you.
dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Significant transactions since the last meeting. On May 31st, we had an EMS reimbursement for $35,000, and our payroll on May 26th was $315,000. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Luby. Trustee correspondence. Trustee Davis?
None at this time, please.
Trustee Sturts?
Yes, you probably have heard that there was a house fire over on Foley Road back in May, and I just thought it was very kind that Pastor David Landis from the Bible Chapel and members of the Bible chapter sent a letter to our chief thanking them for all the good work that they did and how kind they were to the family under this crisis, and just how much they appreciated them and all their work. And so I believe everybody up here wants to reiterate just how wonderful we appreciate all the work that you do. And thank you for saving their house. All right.
All right. Just a couple notes. First, I'd like to personally thank the Delhi Township Veterans Association for, again, putting on a very memorable Memorial Day ceremony. For those of you who were there, you can appreciate the great time and the hard work that went into putting that together. For those of you who didn't make it, I'd mark it for next year because it's quite a moving, patriotic experience. And I'd also like to say congratulations to the Parks Department on a great brewing event. I understand everyone enjoyed themselves, and we had a great crowd. So everyone watch carefully for the next event coming in the park. Okay. Tonight we have a very special presentation. And you know, we get periodically requests to declare special months, declare special days. And it's virtually impossible to answer every request. But this request is somewhat different. This request was very personal to Delhi Township and our residents because this request was for Scleroderma Awareness Month. And for those of you who have followed us and followed the Delhi Police Department, you know that one of our own, DJ, or full name Daryl Hausler, had scleroderma. And so we all prayed and we all followed Daryl's treatment and his progress and his recovery from scleroderma. So the Board of Trustees are very happy to proclaim that this month in Delhi Township is in fact Scleroderma Awareness Month. And whereas scleroderma affects an estimated 15,000 Ohioans, 300,000 people in the United States of all age groups, but its onset is most frequent between the ages of 25 and 55. And whereas scleroderma is an autoimmune disease that affects the skin and other organs of the body, with symptoms that can differ from person to person and range from very mild to life-threatening. And whereas, while there is not yet a cure for this disease, prompt and proper diagnosis and treatment can minimize the symptoms of the disease and lessen the chance of irreversible damage to the skin and internal organs. And whereas it is the mission of the National Scleroderma Foundation and its local chapters to promote awareness to the advanced medical research for this rare rheumatic disease, including the Ohio chapter, who provides support and accessibility to available resources to people who have scleroderma, their families, and support network living in the communities throughout Ohio. Now, therefore, we're going to proclaim this month as Scleroderma Awareness Month in honor of our own DJ Hostler, who had 22 years with the Delhi Township Police Department. And in those 22 years, he actually had many commendations. Well, at least 11 that we could count today. And we also know that he received the Friend of the Children, the PTA from Delhi Middle School, which was quite a distinction. So we would like to honor DJ and his wife Debbie tonight with this proclamation of Scleroderma Awareness Month. Okay, that was only presentation number 1 for tonight.
Can I ask, Madam President, Darryl, do you have a word or two? I don't think I've ever met you without a word or two, something.
Without a word or two, DJ.
It's been quite a journey for you, and please come up to the mic.
Yes.
The first thing I need to just say is thank you. Thank you to Delhi Township. I lived here probably the majority of my life, moving here in the late 70s, minus the time that I was in the Army. And coming back here and being able to work for this department, for this community, was an honor for me and a privilege. And the 22 years that I spent here as an officer was just amazing. We had fantastic leadership, and I worked with some really amazing officers, some of which are in positions that I once held. So it's really neat to see that kind of thing. This disease almost took me, but God had other plans. And it's because of all the prayers and all the support that I received from Delhi Township through the fundraisers, and just the residents and folks from the Delhi Citizens Police Association who supported me and just helped me get through this all emotionally, physically in some ways, and just being there. And I know that that prayer being lifted me up, helped me get through those most trying times. So thank you, Delhi Township and the leadership of Delhi. Chief Jim Howarth, I know he's not here tonight, but in the fire department, there's some great relationships that I will never, ever forget. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We're very happy and proud to do that, DJ. Okay. Does anyone need to know that we have a big lake called Clearview Lake off of Delhi Pike? Well, we have an opportunity that Greg's going to explain to you and then introduce a gentleman from it's ODNR, right?
ODNR.
Okay.
Well, first off, we were approached by ODNR about a partnership with Clearview Lake. They're looking for some urban fishing areas in Hamilton County. There's like an island where we don't have any fishing areas. So Mr. Mike Porto, fisheries biologist from ODNR, approached us, and he's come here tonight to present, or to give basically a presentation about the partnership and what it can entail. I want to also thank Mike. He drove down from Xenia in tonight's weather. So we appreciate him in the long haul down 75, and I guess a lot of water, so you're familiar with it, I assume, so I'll let you take over.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. So yeah, I just, like he said, I'm a fisheries biologist, and so I work for the Department of Natural Resources, Division of Wildlife. So, our mission is to conserve and improve wildlife resources all across the state. I'm stationed here in Southwest Ohio. Our office is in Xenia, but we service 17 counties down here, everything from Grand Lake St. Mary's to the Ohio River, basically. We do things like set regulations, stock fish, provide public access, build boat ramps, things like that. And so one of the things that we're most known for and people get excited about is stocking fish, right? Like when you think about fishing, you want to know when the lake has been stocked and that sort of thing. So we have a catchable rainbow trout program. Trout are kind of a seasonal fishery here in Ohio. We don't have a lot of cold water. Trout like cold water, but there's something that we stock in the spring. People get really excited about it. It's kind of a niche fishery here. So there's not a lot of other places in the state you can go and catch trout. Anyway, we're looking to expand that program, and we stock these trout in a lot of rural areas. Most of the bodies of water that we have jurisdiction over, state parks, wildlife area, lakes, we stock them there because there are lakes and we can just put them there, right? They're public bodies of water in Ohio. And that's great for all the people that live out in rural areas, but we'd like to move some of those fish into more urban areas. So our District 1 office is trying to find areas in Columbus. We're looking for areas in Dayton, Cincinnati, District 2, Northwest Ohio is looking for places in Toledo, so on and so forth. So yeah, we're looking to partner with you guys to provide just additional fishing opportunities. Really, there's no cost to the township, as far as I know. Basically, what we would require from you guys is a fishing agreement. We call it an agreement. It's a contract. Having said that, the way we do these contracts now is this contract is breakable at any time by you guys or by us. There's no date on it. There's no payments, anything like that. It's just an agreement that says you guys are going to provide public fishing access at your park, your pond, Clearview Lake, correct? Mm-hmm. And so once we have that a fishing agreement in place, we would come and stock trout in the spring. We usually do that in March or April, and those fish are free for anyone that would like to come and catch them. The main stipulation with a fishing agreement and the stocking is that those persons aged 16 and older would be required to have a fishing license to fish in the pond. Having said that, and then also, I'm pretty sure you guys are catch and release only. The fishing agreement would also, it would go from a catch and release pond to allowing harvest up to statewide limits and bag limits, so size limits and bag limits on certain species.
Okay.
If you guys have specific questions about those things,
Are you familiar with the species that are currently in the lake?
No, ma'am. I would assume, like many of our ponds, lakes, smaller bodies of water, bass, bluegill, maybe
Because besides fish, we have a lot of snapping turtles.
snapping turtles. Okay.
A lot.
What are your feelings about these snapping turtles?
Would you like them?
Off the air, please.
And would you like some duck and geese? We're giving them away.
Yeah, the geese can cause a lot of problems in nicely manicured ponds and park areas like that.
Well, because we've always been catch and release, I mean, how do we say you're only going to release some fish, or are we going to let all of them be kept? I guess that's my first question, because I couldn't tell one from another.
Yes, so, like I said, certain species would have size, some have size limits, so of a certain size fish has to be returned to the lake. Others would have numbers of fish. So like trout, for instance, that I've been talking about. We would come in the spring, we would stock the lake with trout, and then there would be a 5-fish bag limit is what we call it. That's the term, a bag limit per person. So if you wanted to come fish, you would be allowed to catch 5 trout and take them home with you to harvest them. If you caught any more than 5, they would have to be returned to the water immediately. Someone else is fishing with you, they could also keep 5 fish. As far as bluegills go, we do not have statewide regulations on size or bag limits on bluegills because they are very, very successful at reproducing. And in small ponds like this, generally, there's no issue with harvesting a lot of those fish. Bass have a size limit and a bag limit. So if you caught a small bass under 12 inches, it would have to be returned to the water. And there's 5 of those fish a day as well.
Currently, we do not have a requirement of fishing license. And you're saying we do now have to enforce a fishing license rule?
Yes.
Okay. Does that require an inspection, or
Oh.
how do we best handle that?
That's a great question. So, the Division of Wildlife, we employ, right now, it's not 88, but generally speaking, we have 88 wildlife officers that are employed with us, one in each county for the state. So Hamilton County, it's currently vacant, but we're having an academy right now. Sometime next year, early next year, we should have an officer assigned to this county. This agreement would also give that officer the authority to enforce fish, wildlife, and littering laws inside the park. So, for instance, I'm doing one of these fishing agreements with Hamilton Township in southwest Warren County, at a park that they've recently acquired. That wildlife officer, he knows the local law enforcement guys. They work together on different things from time to time, and that's a really big perk for them as they see it, having someone that's going to come through the park. He's not going to be there every day. They have a schedule, they have things, they have the whole county to take care of. Somebody's got a raccoon in their garage and, he's taking care of that. Somebody's found a fawn over here, he's taking care of it. They're busy guys. But when we stock trout or we come and stock catfish is another thing that we generally would stock as well. He's going to swing through, he's going to check licenses, make sure that people are complying with regulations. Not to say that he's, if there's been in the past a catch and release, no license is needed, the first time he comes through, I don't think he's going to be writing ticket. There's going to be an education, to get people up to speed with, what the new sets of rules and regulations are, that type of thing.
Okay.
But,
Would we have to allow fishing every day? Because right now, it's just Fridays, certain periods of the year.
I don't believe you would, I'm not a lawyer.
Okay.
I have copies of the
We have one
agreement.
here.
It says in here, free public fishing and reasonable access at all times. That basically just means that you cannot charge an additional fee. So, like
We
Great
don't now.
Parks of Hamilton County, a lot of their parks, they charge an additional fee to enter the park. That's kind of a deal breaker for us because then they're going to profit off of, us basically coming and stocking fish. But in here it says the property will be open to fishing during hours and then that language can be tailored to meet your needs. Me-
So it matches our park hours.
Yes, so most places,
Randy,
it's
is that, okay.
most places that I've dealt with are open 7 days a week, basically dawn to dusk. I don't have any experience with some place that's just open 1 day a week. Just personally, I would love to see the place open all the time for fishing, but that's a decision, I think for you guys to make.
Okay.
And so you're going to be putting a lot of fish in there then? And then chances
What?
are they may not all be caught, and so they'll, what do you call it, spawn their own? I mean,
Spawn, yes,
yeah,
the
I
correct
mean,
term is spawn, yes.
We'll make
Very good.
fishies.
they'll make other little fishies.
So
when
the
you-
trout, I will say that, so the trout, I talked a little bit about, they're a cold water species. So about this time of year, the water gets around 75 degrees. They're not real happy. And then when it gets warmer than that, they kind of don't make it the rest of the
Wait a minute.
Oh, really?
Do they die and float to the top?
They generally don't die and float to the top. And I'll be honest, with a lot of it will probably make a couple
I
of happy
hate
turtles.
to see yeah, okay.
Okay.
Now, you keep coming back to the spring, so are we actually talking about doing this contractual agreement in '23, the spring of '23, or is there something that would happen now?
So whenever this gets, if you would like to enter into this agreement, you guys look over the terms, we can make it fit to whatever you guys want. You get it back to me. I have to send it to Columbus. And there's some other oddball things that are just details, but there's some little hoops we got to jump through. We need like a copy of the deed, just to ensure that, right, it's your guys' property and we can allow public access there. But it's got to go to Columbus, route through our legal team, and then the process takes a week or two. But I think so generally also the way that we work is we put in our stocking requests in the fall, and then that gives our hatcheries times to raise the fish, and then the following year those fish are available. So like right now, we've stocked all of our trout out this spring. That usually ends at the beginning of May. Right now, we're getting eggs from a company out in Washington State. We're going to raise those, we're going to hatch those eggs, raise them, and then they'll get stocked next spring. So it gives us about a year.
That sounds like spring of '23.
Spring of '23 would be, we would, if everything went smooth, we could stock some trout. And then in the summer, we would also be able to stock catfish. And then beyond that, I don't want to make promises, but we're working on a catchable sunfish program. So like bluegills, like you talked about, if we felt like too many were getting caught and taken out, we could stock some more.
Trustee Davis, any questions?
No, on the licensing, is that ODNR that gives that out, or is that something that they'd come to the township, and is there a fee on
No.
that, or how's that work?
We have licensed vendors all over the state. You can go to our website. We have an app on your
Okay,
phone.
but so that would be you, that would not be, that's.
Anybody, no, you guys don't have anything to do with the
Thank you.
fishing license. People can call 1-800.
Sisters?
No, I've asked mine, or he's answered it, and
Jim?
No question.
Oh, no questions. Okay. Well, we do have a lawyer.
That's what I hear.
He does say so.
So if you could please either get that contract to Greg, and then we'll have Brian take a look at that, and then we'll get back to you. I think this sounds like a very interesting program, and we're always looking for ways to, drive the activity to the lake, minus the snapping turtles.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good point. These things, you get more people there, that's a good thing, but.
Yes, and we
you
have a very active fisher people group,
Yeah.
so I'm sure they would like the idea of catch and keep.
A lot of people do. A lot of people like the trout because we stock them at a catchable size. A lot of other fish, right, we stock and then they have to grow and then you can catch them and keep them. But these
Wow.
ones we put in and you just catch them and take them home and eat them.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this to Delhi Township and Clearview Lake, and then we'll get the contract and,
I had a question for him.
oh, you do?
I do. So, Mike, is compared to a catch and release and a catch and keep, the health of the lake, the health of the wildlife in the lake, what do you see there? Is this like all year long people could fish? Or does it have seasons? Or how does that affect the lake and what's in the lake over a course of time?
Yeah, so with your guys' pond, or excuse me, lake, it's not a huge body of water. So if we did have crowds and crowds of people there fishing all the time, keeping every fish that they catch, there could be, over harvest issues. That's something that is a possibility. We have, that's what I do. Most of what I do is fish assessments. So we have an electrofishing boat, and there's a stipulation in here about that. Again, I can give you guys a copy, you can look at it, but we could come down and do a fish survey, basically, for lack of a better term. We put electricity in the water, we scoop up all the fish, we take a look at them, we say, hey, your fish look great, everything's going good, or we say, oh, there's nothing in here, and then, we can work with our hatcheries to try to resolve that issue. And then there's other ways, I think, for you guys with just the park hours. I mean, it's been Fridays only. If you want to open it up all week, for people to come fish, and then we feel like maybe it's getting a little bit too busy or there's some conflicts, then I think that's up to you guys to change that.
So is it certainly not, not on the weekends because the park's busy, or is that kind of what we avoid? Well, I know, but we would avoid probably the weekends, I'm guessing. Okay, I was just concerned because it isn't a big, we call it a lake, but it's a pond. Sorry about that. But
I think it's about
I'm just concerned if it's open for fishing all the time, it'll be out of fish in like a week.
Yeah, I can't, that depends a lot on the pressure. And, a lot of people are happy to catch a fish and put it back in the water, and that's the experience.
I just wanted to understand, like, how do we kind of adapt with that as the program goes? I think it sounds great. I think it would be good. I think people would like it. I'm just,
Yep. And yeah, so we could come down sometime next year and bring our boat down, and if you guys are okay with it, we could put our boat in the water and see what things look like, and then make some stocking requests.
I think any opportunity that we have to drive the activity at the lake/pond is a good one. And we'll have Lawyer Brian take a look at the contract
Okay.
and figure out the hours. And I thank you for thinking of Delhi Township and Clearview Lake.
No problem. Yeah, I'll give you guys copies of this, and I'll work with
Perfect.
Randy and Greg.
Great.
Get something
Thank
figured
you.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
you.
Okay. Now we're back to our regular agenda, and we'll hear first from the fire department. Chief Campbell. Mr. Libby, we have a motion.
Motion to approve the hiring of Ethan D. Brogan as part-time firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the Delhi Firefighters Association upon successful completion of the voice stress analyzer, pre-employment physical, drug testing, and background check, effective on June 8th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Chief Campbell, did you want to wait till we finish the motions?
Yeah, I think that'd be easier. I'll
Okay.
just summarize.
All right. You want to continue, Mr. Luby?
Motion to approve the hiring of Zeno H. Perry IV as part-time firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the Delhi Firefighters Association upon successful completion of the voice stress analyzer, pre-employment physical, drug testing, and background check, effective on June 8th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved.
Motion to approve the hiring of Jesse Knoll as part-time firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the Delhi Firefighters Association upon successful completion of the voice stress analyzer, pre-employment physical, drug testing, and background check, effective on June 8th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve the hiring of Tyler J. Rui as part-time firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the Delhi Firefighters Association upon successful completion of the EMT certification, voice stress analyzer, pre-employment physical, drug testing, and background check, effective on June 8th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Chief?
So certainly you can tell we've been busy doing a lot of application reviews. It is that time of year where the academies let out, and it's a flood to try to get into fire departments. So we went out and actively pursued 3 of these candidates come out of Cincinnati State, 1 out of Scarlet. And you notice there's a varying degree of requirements that we still have them to go through, but by approving them tonight so we can get the ball rolling, we can expedite the process, because we do have some immediate vacancies and some immediate pending vacancies. And certainly you'll recognize Tyler Rui. We are waiting for him to complete his EMT testing, but his family has served in Delhi on the fire department
was
in a
gonna
number
ask,
of
that's a familiar
capacities
name.
over the years. So yes, Tyler has decided to join us, and we're happy to have him. So this is our process of kind of plugging some of the holes that we've had. We certainly recognize Delhi's in really no different situation than other fire departments in our community. We've definitely taken a hit to the labor market in terms of firefighters. We're always looking. I don't think we have closed applications for part-time firefighters at least in 7 or 8 years. It's just a perpetual thing that we need to keep going to keep the service to the residents.
Well, welcome to the new 4 part-timers to the Delhi Township Fire Department, and thank you for choosing us, and best of luck on finishing your tests.
Thank you.
Okay. Another motion then, Mr. Luby.
Motion to accept the voluntary resignation of career firefighter paramedic Christopher J. Eisenecker from the Delhi Township Fire Department effective on June 18th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Chief, do you have any updates for us?
No, I just wish Chris well. He served Delhi Township for 5 years. We're sorry to see him go. He is going to take on a full-time position with Deerfield Township. So like many other departments, they're growing. They just built a 4th station and hiring 15 brand new full-time people. I mean, our job is to hold as many people as we possibly can in our community, but it's a dog-eat-dog world right now in the fire service. I think public safety as a whole, it's very competitive. So
Thank you for all you've done in recruitment and getting these hires done. That's terrific.
thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Good luck, Chris.
Do what?
Good luck to
Good luck,
Chris.
good luck to Chris, yes, and thank you for your service. Parks and Recreation, resolution, Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2022-71, resolution adopting updated and restated rules for parks in Delhi Township pursuant to Section 505.261 and 511.322 of the Ohio Revised Code, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. Earlier this year, at a request of the Board of Trustees, we were asked to take a look at our park rules. I know we've had some issues in the parks with behavior pretty much. So we took a look at our rules. A lot of these rules are already in existence, but they're buried in the Ohio Revised Code. So we pulled them out and added them into our new proposed rules. Some new things that we did put in there are some animal control rules, proper usage of sporting fields, like we don't want to see the infield of a ball field being used as a BMX track. Just how to properly use equipment. Again, personal conduct has been added in here. Again, a lot of that's buried in the Ohio Revised Code, but most residents do not know what the Ohio Revised Code is, so this will make it nice and easy for them to find it on our website if these rules are approved tonight. And the other thing that we had a request on is just some smoking regulations possibly in our parks. So we did put some rules in there that follow the Ohio Revised Code, where that gives the Board of Trustees an allowance to either regulate an overall comprehensive non-smoking in all of the parks or designate certain areas within our parks. There were some additional fines that you saw attached to the rules. Those are not part of the adoption tonight. But we just kind of give you a heads up of what these fines are. They're actually regulated again by the Ohio Revised Code or by the county courts. So, but that is not part of your adoption. It's more of an FYI for you. So if you have any questions about any of the rules, these will be enforced by our police department.
I
So-
continuously get questions about smoking in the playground area. And as part of the Public Health We Thrive group, we know that secondhand smoke outside carries 25 feet. So one of my interests is stopping smoking around the playground areas. Yeah. Trustee Davis, you have anything?
No, I'm thrilled. I'm glad, especially on the vulgar language and things like that. It's like, it might be a social norm that's kind of universally accepted, but we don't have to accept it in the park, especially for people with their family and the kids that are trying to enjoy it. So I think this is long overdue. I'm thrilled, and I hope that our police officers take it very seriously and actually, you know, you might have to do a citation here and there, and that's the way it goes. But we've got a lot of money invested, taxpayers have a lot of money invested in that park, and we want to keep it fun, safe, and decent, so.
Trustee Sturts?
No, I totally agree. Thank you for all the extra effort it took to go through this again, just like you did with our zoning. Fine-tooth comb, takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I thank you and your department, anybody involved in it, so.
Yeah, it was definitely a team effort from our law director to the police department to the park staff. So we all chipped in and went through this together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something to this? So,
Okay.
please. Sorry, okay. One of the things, this is more of a PSA, because I hear of complaints from different sources and the ability to affect enforcement or dealing with them. Please, if somebody's doing something that does not seem appropriate, call the police. We can't do anything about it unless the police can come out and deal with it. Don't record it and send it to us. Don't call and tell us about it. Don't put it on social media. Call the police and say, this is going on. Can somebody come up here? We have a park resource officer. He can't be everywhere, but he's there or she's there, and there's other officers that can respond. So if something is going on that you don't like, call the police. The 922-0060, thank you. 513, by the way. And ask them to come up. That's the only way we can affect enforcement or dealing with something. It may not be an arrest, it might be a stern warning or knock that off or get out of the park. But if you tell us about it after the fact, we cannot do anything about it. Now, we have cameras. If there's vandalism or something else that is a police matter, we can follow up on that, and they do all the time. But please call the police if you see something going on. Do not be afraid to do that. We ask you to, please.
You know, for years, different groups that have come in and evaluated Delhi Township, the one thing that was always consistent from one evaluation to the next was that our parks were truly a crown jewel to the township. And to be witnessing some of this bad behavior and disrespect to what our taxpayer residents have put together as a fabulous playground is really disheartening. So, you know, rules are there and there's consequences. And so I hope everyone can abide by those rules and enjoy the crown jewels of Delhi Township. Right? I mean, how many times have we heard that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Will any of those rules be posted?
Yeah, we'll post them on our website. We're thinking about doing a QR code for when people enter the park. They can just snap the sign and get a copy
Great
of the rules
idea.
there. There's all kinds of different things we can do. So, but yeah, we'll definitely get some signs posted.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
All right, we'll move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes, resolution passes.
Motion to approve the hiring of Griffin M. Kane as seasonal Parks and Recreation worker in the Parks and Recreation Department at a pay rate of $15 per hour, effective June 8th, 2022, contingent upon successful completion of background check and drug testing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved.
Motion to approve the hiring of Samuel M. Widener as seasonal Parks and Recreation worker in the Parks and Recreation Department at a rate of $15 per hour, effective on June 8th, 2022, contingent upon successful completion of background check and drug testing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion to accept the voluntary resignation of seasonal Parks and Recreation worker Jacob A. Rudolph, effective May 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved. on to Flora Paradise and then moving that to a motion, Mr. Luby?
Before you jump off of the hiring or the personnel movements, I did want to note something with our, we made some pay increases to compete in the marketplace.
Yes, we did.
Last year, you had one seasonal person. This year, we're going to have, that makes 5, and then we hired a full-time person last meeting. So I think some of the changes we did to compete have been effective, and so Randy will be able to get off a lawnmower and
so will you.
utilize his skills.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm
so
still
will
gonna-
you.
I'm still going to ride a lawnmower. That's for, relaxation. But I just want to point that out. So thank you for making those changes. We're seeing that impact. I think we're seeing it in the police department recruitment as well. So I just wanted to
Right.
make that note.
Well, I'm glad that's working out. That's perfect. All right, we have one more motion in the Parks Department then, Mr. Luby?
Motion to approve the plan submitted for Floral Paradise Gardens update, removal, and revitalizing of garden areas and hardscapes.
I will, once this is moved, explain to me what this is going to do?
Sure. Basically, we have made a proposal. You guys got a copy of it before.
When did you send that proposal?
Gosh. Back in May.
But nothing's changed?
No.
Okay.
No. So we're just looking at
No.
trying to manage the gardens better at Floral Paradise. While we're hiring people, we're actually losing volunteers. We're not getting a younger generation of volunteers in our park system. So our gardens, unfortunately, have just gotten unmanageable. A lot of them were put in during a time when there was nurseries in the area and greenhouses, and their staffs would come out and take care of those gardens. Well, a lot of those, as we know, are gone also. So we're having a struggle trying to find volunteers to help maintain that garden. And as you know, you pull a weed, 2 seconds later, you look down, there's another weed. So we are just trying to find a way to bring it better management, or for better management of our garden, so we can bring it back to the vibrancy it once was. I mean, it unfortunately isn't right now. It's embarrassing, in my opinion, of how some of those gardens look. And they're doing the best they can with the volunteers we got. We really appreciate all they're doing, but there's only so many people that can help us out with that. So we're just trying to get it to a manageable area, bring it back to its vibrancy, and make it a showpiece for the community again.
I actually went up and walked the gardens with Mr. Soupy and Mr. Cameron, and part of the gardens that we're going to eliminate, to me, also are eliminating a safety issue, which is our workers were leaning out into the traffic way and working into the driveway with cars coming in and out. So those were the first that are removed, and they'll become a grassy knoll. Correct, Randy? Mm-hmm. Grassy knoll. Okay. And then some of the other areas that'll be changed are how they sit on the different walkways. So it will still be returned to a beautiful spot, a very serene spot. By the way, we still need volunteers to work up there, still taking opportunities for volunteers. But what we're doing will make this easier to manage, safer for our volunteers to work the area, and just bring it back to its spotlight.
I
Do you have any
too-
questions on it?
Thank you. What, Rose? I'm
No,
sorry.
I too walked it, and and the structures are bringing down too. Some of the wood structures are unsafe, so that's a good thing to do. And some of the volunteers have worked some of the areas, and they're becoming gorgeous again. I mean, it's like, wow, you can tell the difference, when you go to see it, what impact it's already making, and yeah, it'll be smaller, but it's going to be beautiful. I mean, it really will be. And like you said, it'll be more manageable for the volunteers who take pride in their sections. I mean, they're assigned sections, and they take great pride in it.
So we'll recover the waterfall area, which is great. Right now, it's very well hidden. And you're right, some of the wooden structures, they've really just deteriorated over years. So it's time for them to come down as well. But things like the big painted pot, it's back out, looks great. And so you'll see a lot of familiar things, and it'll just be a lot more pleasant to be there.
And the walks themselves will be safer.
And the walks themselves, yeah, working on that as well. Okay.
Very good. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Yes. Motion approved.
Good. Good stuff.
Go at it, Parks Department. Okay, I have no agenda items for the police department. Jeff, you have some updates, a little PSA?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for giving us the necessary tools for handling, obviously, the problem children in the park. So, but like Administrator Cameron said, if you see something, say something, call us. I mean, because obviously we're there to do our job, and our young men and women do a fantastic job. So they're waiting for you to call so we can come out and deal with the issues or deal with the problem. So please call us. I mean, if it's never an issue. I can't tell you how many times we get phone calls after the fact, and they say, well, we didn't call because we didn't want to bother you. I'm like, well, you know, it's whether it's cars getting broke into in the middle of the night or what have you. But if you see something, obviously, we'd rather address it then and there so we can take care of the issue and hopefully.
And that phone number again is 513-922-0060.
There you go.
Right.
And the second update I'd like to give you is the two officers that you were so generous to let us hire are doing a fantastic job. And hopefully soon, I want to say Officer Crawford's got probably about 4 or 5 more weeks of training, and then Officer Venemeyer's got about 8 more weeks of training, and then they'll be out on their own. So they're doing a fantastic job. They're little sponges, and they're soaking everything up. So thank you for that. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain anything.
Yeah, door-to-door sales. There's been a hotbed of conversation out there, and can you just address, you know, what citizens are saying, you know, I was afraid to open my door, so on and so forth, and can you talk about how they're supposed to register if they're a vetted vendor?
Correct. Our clerks in our office registers people a lot. They just have to come to the PD and pay a small fee and register. I mean, the main point of that for us is that we're trying to vet people that are going door to door, because obviously we want to protect our residents as much as
As
possible.
legitimate vendors.
Correct. And if somebody has a question or they obviously fear their safety, again, I can't say enough to call, and they could reach out to me directly if they have specific questions regarding vendors.
And we still have the window stickers that says
We do,
we do.
correct.
You want to tell them how to get those?
You can call our office, we'll even drop one off, we'll mail one to you, whatever's easier for you. You can pick one up at the station, we'll be glad to help you, and if you have trouble getting it mounted, call us, we'll help you mount it. So,
Great.
Yeah, and what it says is, you know, vendors basically go away. Girl Scouts and schools can still come, but what I don't think people understand is that anybody can be a fly-by-night vendor and come up and say, I'm going to take care of a problem that you probably have or whatever. And they're not certified. They're not real. They'll take your money and may not come back. I had that happen to a neighbor. He was going to cut down a tree. He pays them. They go away. They never came back. So, you know, don't be fearful. Like I said, call the police. Make sure that they're on there. Plus, when they register, they get a list of these people, the residents who are on that do not solicit. And they know they're not supposed to come to your house. And so if they're registered, they know not to come to your house. And when they show up at your house, they've not registered because they're not following that list. Am I correct?
like I said, the most important thing is follow your gut. If
Right.
it doesn't seem right or doesn't feel right,
Right.
call.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be more than happy to come out and spend some time explaining everything, or obviously talk to the people that are at your door.
Sure.
Giving them the rules. If they're not obviously registered, we'll take care of that as well.
And there's a limit on hours they can do it.
Correct.
And people were saying they're ringing their doorbell at 9 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Does that sound like a legit business?
That's not something I would answer.
Yeah, right. So, thank you. I just wanted to make sure the residents, you know, just PSA again.
Certainly.
'Tis the season.
Anything else?
I'm good. Trustee Davis?
Nope.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, Public Works, Ron.
Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know, just kind of sang it. Resolution, Mr. Libby?
Resolution 2022-72, resolution authorizing application for a grant from the Hamilton County Engineers Office for 20% license tax funds to assist in the cost of the 2022 street rehabilitation and repair project expenses, authorizing the Director of Public Works to execute any required documents in connection with the grant application, declaring emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
Introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? Mr. Ripperger?
Thank you, trustees. This is a process we do every year through Hamilton County. All the local jurisdictions also do this process. It's a little over $18,000, and it goes right to our road project every year.
So this is the annual.
Yes.
Okay.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes. Ron, I think you have some other updates to share.
Yes, I have a couple other things. One is another road closure, short one, the 20th to the 24th on Cleves Warsaw for the new Heather Ridge subdivision. That's between Ebenezer and Pontius. Short detour, and on the bright side, school's out, so it should make a smooth passage through that area. And we'll get out on social media. I think we have already. So it would probably more affect people just cutting through more than residents, hopefully.
Okay.
And I do have something else after that. We actually had a correspondence from not a resident, but someone passing through. He was on Anderson Ferry, and someone stepped out into the roadway to get their mail. He had to swerve so he wouldn't hit them, and just kind of sent us an email stating the situation, and he kind of asked if we put out a safety notification or what have you. I believe most mailboxes you can pull the mail from the not so dangerous side, but he also mentioned people cutting grass he's seen out in the road, so just be extra cautious, and we'll try to put some extra information out there on that.
All right. So when you cut your grass, you blow the grass back into your yard, not into the street.
You're moaning like I am.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you're going out to get your mail, watch for the traffic. So, all right. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
That might be a nice education moment too on our township newsletter, something just to put that out there, because you're seeing it more and more. They cut the grass and just blows into the street, blows all over, like this is just how we live here. And no, it's really not. And I know we have lots of people that are moving to Delhi, and for great reasons, but I do think sometimes we need to blow the dust off what the rules are, and common sense and logic and reason. Don't blow your crap into the streets. And for all the reasons why we don't do that, and how it affects the system, the water, everything. So it's just about being courteous, but we'll get benefit of the doubt that they're not sure about that. So maybe, Jack, we can get that, 'cause I know we're talking about another news blast, right? Or if nothing else, we
Maybe we can tweet.
I had a code name for it. Should I use that?
And the code name is what? Okay, that's what I
Yes,
figured.
goodness.
Okay.
So leaves too, Mike, like you're saying, just not the grass, it's the leaves. But actually, it's a
Leaves,
Hamilton County
yeah.
issue also.
Yeah.
Because of the waterways, and it gets into the sewers, so, yeah.
Stormwater.
Stormwater, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other reason for the leaves in the street is if they're wet and there's a motorcycle, it's extremely dangerous. So please, keep your yard garbage in your yard. All right. Thank you, Ron. Administration, Mr. Cameron, do you have updates for us?
I have a few things I can update you on. One, speaking of solicitation, I know there are some people going around, so our gas aggregation program has expired. So if you were on our aggregation, you probably got a notice that you went back to Duke regulated utility for gas. First thing is you don't have to do anything, just sit tight. We're playing for the winter pricing where you use more gas. The natural gas pricing is up, so they didn't want to lock in a price for the next year or 2 years that would be less advantageous than what they could lock in a month or two. So our broker is working on getting a good price, and we're playing for the winter quantity that you're going to use. Okay, so you don't have to do anything. We fielded a lot of calls, and I think we're kind of past that because there was a couple times the notification hit. If somebody is at your door, especially saying they're Duke, they're not Duke. Duke does not do that. So if somebody's at your door about pricing for gas or electric or whatever, safest thing is just to have them go away. I would be cautious signing up for something that you can't get out of, because we're playing for the winter pricing where you use more gas. So just, we'll get the best price we can. All gas prices are up. And if you got a better price than what Duke is, it's probably going to be not in your favor over the course of the winter by the time you're done paying for all your gas. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, I know there are questions or comments or things talked about with our project site. Bruce Construction has worked on some underground, and they've currently idled because we're waiting to finalize our permits for MSD and Waterworks. Those are laborious processes, at least to me. So they will be back on site as soon as we have the permits in hand. Unfortunately, they can't really step on the gas without the permits in hand because it could take longer, or, I mean, you just don't want to do that. So they will be back on site. They will be going in earnest and not stopping at that point. I can tell you we have our steel and our precast concrete ordered and coming to the site in September and November. So there's nothing slowing down with the project, with just the underground has to halt for the moment to get the permits in order, so work will fire up and be going like we've expected to see it. It's just idle right at the moment. So rest assured, it's still happening and it's still going on. So I just don't want people to get anxious, but you can't always control schedules and other things. So we're finalizing pricing on the next piece, and as everybody's seeing, you know, pricing for things are up, so we're going to see a bit of an escalation in pricing we were hoping not to see, but that's just kind of the way things are at the moment.
Okay, thank you. All right, community development, Mr. DeLong. Mr. DeLong, can you let everyone know when is the grand opening of Blue Roo and the second car wash?
The Blue Roo is supposed to open. I'm not sure why they would open right now with all the rain. But,
Okay, but we're just kind
but
of,
it would be July. He stated June 18th for Blue
Okay.
Roo. The clean sweep, he does not have a definite date yet.
estimated.
It's mid-June, but we're
right.
almost to mid-June. So
All right, so everyone, stop asking. We just,
we can't control it.
we can't control it. I'd like to, but no. Okay.
exactly.
And I'm driving a very dirty car. Okay, community development. Resolution, Mr. Luby?
Resolution 2022-73, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 219 Clover Hill Terrace, declaring an emergency and dispensing with second reading.
Introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
Sure. For the interest of time, we started with 12 tonight, or 12 earlier today. We're down to 9. They run from 073 to 081 for resolution numbers. Our inspector did go out this morning, and they were still in violation as of this morning. We did have, just for the public's knowledge, 6 of these are owner-occupied, 3 are
Really?
rental, and 8 of the 9 are repeat. So, just so you know. So if you have any questions, let me know.
I will move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-74, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 410 Sun Air Terrace, declaring an emergency and dispensing with second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-75, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 511 Angel Nook Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Where is Angel Nook Drive?
Don't know.
Really?
Where?
Okay, towards Foley over that way. Okay. It's in a nook. By and by, we found a little nook. I will move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this
All
resolution.
those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis? Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-76, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 3912 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Looby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-77, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 3930 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Looby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-78, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation, 3944 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Looby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-79, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 4250 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Looby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-80, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 5400 Boutique Court, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Looby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2022-81, resolution providing for the removal of a junk motor vehicle at 496 Pedretti Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Looby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes. Resolution passes. I have no one signed in for public comment. Okay, so announcement of community events, Mr. Looby?
We have our free fishing on Friday at Clearview Lake, now through September 30th. It's from 7 a.m. until dusk. It is catch and release only. It's available to Delhi residents only and is limited to designated areas around the lake. You can call the park with any questions. The farmers market at Clearview Lake is operating on Saturdays during the summer, 9 a.m. until noon. There's 30 vendors offering a variety of items, and you can call the park with any questions. Go Vibrant's 7th annual Million Step Neighborhood Challenge. The challenge started on May 28th and will run through October 15th. Go Vibrant has created the largest network of urban walking routes in 21 communities. Delhi has designated Go Vibrant walking trails throughout the township and asking residents to join their neighbors, so we can take the lead in this year's challenge. Check out the website for a link for more information and to register. The Delhi Historical Society program, Walking Along with the Paranormal, is Monday, June 13th at 7 p.m., and that's at the Delhi Park Lodge at 5125 Foley Road. Presenter Lynn Gottman shares her experiences that led her to writing her book. Contact the Historical Society to learn more. The Delhi Park's first summer concert featuring Bad Habit, brought to you in cooperation with the St. Dominic Athletic Association, Delhi Skyline Chili, Seton High School, Delhi Professional Firefighters Local 3389, Delhi Kiwanis Krugler Law, Delhi Business Association, and James J. Luby, CPA. Thursday, June 16th at 7 p.m., Delhi Park Performance Pavilion. Food and beverages are available for purchase. No coolers are permitted. The Delhi Branch Library Discover Summer Series, Honey Hill Farm Petting Zoo, is Saturday, June 18th. It's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's at the Delhi Branch Library at 5095 Foley Road. Join the Honey Hill Petting Zoo on the library lawn. The Madcap Puppets present Story Quest is Wednesday, July 27th at 7 p.m. That will be at the Delhi Park Pavilion. Event put on by the Delhi Parks and Recreation Department. Royal storyteller Everett Hickenbottom recounts 2 adventurous tales, The Stolen Crown and Feetwater, before getting help from the audience to imagine one final wondrous story. Loads of audience participation and hilarious puppets fill this charming production.
Thank you, Mr. Luby. Trustee Davis, I think you had a little announcement today.
Yeah, shout out to Bailey here in Delhi, who's been out here for 33 years. They just did a ground blessing ceremony today for a new building that they are building over off of North Bend, Bailey at Green Township. So that's quite the buzz. Bailey, who not just because I work there, but has a long reputation for the quality care that they give, and has won outstanding awards through the years. They are expanding their building. They're putting an independent living facility over right across from Mercy West over on North Bend. Be 80 units for independent living. So today was the blessing of the ground. They've already kind of started clearing and such with Turner Construction. And Father Chris Lack did the blessing, and it was very well done, very well attended, and congratulations, Bailey.
Great, thank you. We do have cause for executive session this evening, so if I could have the motion, please, Mr. Luby?
Motion to retire to executive session to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and/or compensation of public employees of the township.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes, motion approved. We will adjourn to go up to executive session. I do want to say that our next meeting is Wednesday, June the 29th. So have a great month of June, and we'll see you on the last week.